You're listening to the Under the Ring Report, a weekly podcast that asks the question, why pro wrestling? Here's your host, John the Flesh Wound.
And welcome to episode 9 of the Under the Ring Report in a world where Jinder Mahal is your WWE champion. Oh my gosh, are people losing their mind on the internet? And you know what? I'm okay with Jinder Mahal being the WWE champion. But that's not what this week's show is about. We have Scary F and Terry here, and starting kind of the theme of the Under the Ring Report, which we've talked about since the start, we look at why pro wrestling. So our interview with Scary Terry talks about how he got into professional wrestling and why he enjoys it. So sit back and enjoy.
Under the Ring Report interview.
All right, with us, we have Scary F and Terry from Rock 94.7. Hello.
Your five-time metal show champion on Rock 94.7.
That's right. All right, man. So you are going to be the first one that we've had on the show to start asking the question, as we've talked about before. The show is about why pro wrestling. So I'm going to hit you with the toughest question.
Okay.
What got you into professional wrestling? And when I'm talking about that, if you can think of something like the first time you saw a TV show, let's get into it.
What got me into it is it was what was on after Saturday morning cartoons.
Okay.
So Saturday morning cartoons wrap up, and then all of a sudden, there's Hulk Hogan. And I'm like, this is cool, you know, because the thing is about wrestling, especially more so these days, but okay, back then too, you had these colorful, larger-than-life characters, and what a perfect follow-up to Saturday morning cartoons that was, where I'm already watching colorful, larger-than-life characters, except now you have real-life human beings doing this stuff. Okay. So that's what got me into it, and I was little, you know, when I saw it for the first time.
What age do you think you were when that happened?
Man, we're talking like elementary school. Probably like between the ages of like maybe 7 and 10.
Okay.
Like right in that range. I remember being in 3rd grade when I saw it for the first time.
So you're right. You're probably right there just at the start of rock and wrestling and all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a Saturday morning cartoon that was all about the rock and wrestling stuff, man. You had just terrible animation and dreadful voiceover work. Okay. But that's what got me into it. What kept me in it was it really kind of the same thing. I mean, for me, if you're a wrestling fan, you are at some point you are going to catch shit about your fandom.
Oh yeah.
Oh, why do you watch that stuff? You know it's fake, right? Hey, guess what? We've heard it all before. You're not original, you stupid prick. So. But what kept me in it is kind of along the lines of what got me into it. Wrestling at its core is mythology. Yeah. It's these larger-than-life characters. It's these archetypes of good and evil, justice versus injustice, and occasionally Sid Justice. And
oh, my.
But they're telling these stories that are based on these timeless concepts. You've got, betrayal. You've got, you have love and hate and righting wrongs. And again, that good versus evil thing. I mean, these are storytelling tropes that go all the way back to ancient mythology. I mean, back in ancient Greece, you had these stories of Hercules besting these challenges. And today you have John Cena running through this gauntlet of bad guys, So for me, and I've always loved mythology. I spent so much. I grew up in this little town I grew up in. We didn't have air conditioning, but the library did.
Nice.
So I spent a lot of time in the library, and I would read about mythology, Greek mythology and Norse mythology. I just ate that stuff up because I thought it. Because again, larger than life characters telling timeless stories, and that's what got me into wrestling. That's what keeps me loving wrestling. There's no other medium that tells that story the way that pro wrestling does.
Okay. Now, if we go back then to that time, and you mentioned Hulk Hogan, which every kid at that age was in love with Hulk Hogan, but there has to be some things that maybe stick in your memory that you always remember at that age that were kind of the thing that hooked you in. It may have been a story. It may have been a character. But can you kind of talk about some things that really stick in your memory from that time?
The big thing, and I know this is the most cliche, basic bitch thing to say when it comes to that particular era. But Hulk Hogan picking up Andre the Giant and slamming him into the mat. That's an image that does not leave your head.
Okay.
That one sticks out first and foremost, without a shadow of a doubt. And again, larger than life mythology, David and Goliath, man versus monster, Hulk slamming Andre. That is a tale as old as time. That is Hercules fighting the Hydra. That's how classic that story is. As far as other stuff from that particular era, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, I marked out for the Rockers, because here you've got these epic heroes like Hogan, and you've got monsters like Andre the Giant and King Kong Bundy, and here come these little flippy dudes running in and hanging with them. That's the thing. The Rockers were able to hang with the likes of Demolition, and oh my God, Demolition was terrifying back then. You had them and the Powers of Pain. And you all said your fair share of ridiculous stuff. You had Akeem, the African Dream. For some reason, that goofy guy always sticks with me.
Vince always makes mistakes also, okay? You can't, everything you do can't be a home run, all right?
That's true. And I'll tell you what, the other character I absolutely marked out for, the Ultimate Warrior. You know, looking back with a more mature eye and seeing what his limitations were as far as a performer. But, you know, when I was a kid, seeing this dude coming down to crazy-ass heavy metal music and shaking the ropes and, you know, doing all that, I'll tell you what, that match between him and Hogan, it was at WrestleMania 6, I think?
It was 5.
Okay, yeah. WrestleMania 5. For me, that was that Mania, and don't get me wrong, Hulk versus Andre, that image burned into my memory without a shadow of a doubt. But the other match, and again, I mean, I just remember the lead up to that. My buddies and I just, oh, dude, it's totally going to be Warrior. No way, man. No one can beat Hulk Hogan, bro. So that moment, and the match itself ended up being kind of whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But these two titans, this is Hercules versus Perseus at this point. These or Hercules versus Achilles, or insert whatever other classic mythology character you want. But those two titans going at it in the ring. That was huge. Huge for me as a kid. Again, classic mythology, larger than life stories.
Now, let's jump ahead a little.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of people kind of jumped off the bandwagon probably late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Were you one of those also?
Without a doubt I did.
So what brought you back to professional wrestling?
When I went to broadcasting school, this was late 90s. And I went to broadcasting school with a couple of marks, and one of them I won't forget. I'll never forget his name. His name was John Dunn, and John Dunn was a huge wrestling mark. He even made up his own finishing move, and he called it the Done Deal. And it was, I'm like, that's great.
Okay.
So at one point during class, and again, this was not it was accredited, but if you've ever been to a broadcasting school is used very loosely in the terms of how you would describe it. It was anarchy, but you got out of it what you put into it. You know,
gotcha.
if you showed up, if you learned your craft, if you did your internship, you could do well. I've made a nice career out of it. But there were plenty of people who, like my man John Dunn, who wanted to hang out and play radio and talk about wrestling. And so John Dunn brings in ECW tapes.
Okay.
And he's like, and I heard, and of course NWO was big and Goldberg was big and people were talking about it. And he brings in these ECW tapes and we're watching them. I'm going, holy crap, this is incredible. And then I'm like, okay, so and they're freaking out about this Goldberg guy and talking about the NWO. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch Nitro. I'm going to see what this is all about. And I flip on Nitro and I'm like, wow, wrestling got a lot better. A lot better. I watched Goldberg rip through fools like it was nothing. I saw the NWO come in as this gang.
Now, did it also have kind of a nostalgia feel, though, to see Macho Man, Hogan, all the guys you grew up with were back on TV?
When I saw that Hogan was a bad guy now, mind just blown. I'm like, no way. Because, you know, again, in mythology, and for me, another extension of classic mythology is comic books. So in comic books, when the good guy goes bad, oh, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
That is a big moment. And conversely, when the bad guy goes good, that can also be a pretty epic moment, you know? So seeing Hulk Hogan be the bad guy, what a twist, you know? And you know, again, with a less educated eye, I thought, wow, he can still work.
Whoops.
Ha! Yes. I'm like, hey, he still does the leg drop.
I was going to say that. The back rake is a really powerful move.
The back rake. Let me tell you something about the back rake, okay? That move, of all the moves in wrestling, and we're putting this right up here with things like the Irish whip. Oh, why can't I stop running?
Or the eye poke.
The eye poke. Look, if somebody jabs you in the eye,
but
that can legit hurt. And that brought me back into it, and then I started checking out Raw again too, and kind of flipping back and forth. And Raw had really stepped up its game as well. You know, you had The Rock and Hogan and Mankind, and I'm like, damn, this is great. You know, wrestling. I had been missing out, and of course, but my main bag, WCW was cool, Raw was cool, but every Saturday night when I was working the overnight shift at WUBE-FM, Great Country B105, and when I was working that overnight shift, ECW was on some little UHF station, channel 25, and I get all my CDs and stuff set up. And then I would flip on channel 25, and there's ECW. And I'm watching Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer and the human suplex machine, the human submission machine, Taz. Hell yeah, Taz.
So you were lucky. We didn't get to see ECW where I lived. It wasn't on any of the TV shows. We'd hear about it, but didn't get to be that lucky. So you get to kind of see that outlaw brand everybody was talking about.
And it was that old school dirty ECW too. It wasn't that, was it TNT ended up picking them up?
Yeah, later
on. They ruined that brand. They straight up ruined it. We had another, and yeah, so I got back into it, and during the heyday of this, there was a little AM station in Cincinnati, and what was the guy's name? Les Thatcher, I think was his name. He used to work with OVW.
Okay.
And OVW is just a little way south of Cincinnati. So a lot of these guys, you know, your developmental people. Hell, I'll never forget the episode of Raw where, was it Raw or SmackDown? One of the two. Where Triple H and Shawn Michaels dumped the Spirit Squad into a giant crate, and it said "ship to OVW" on it. I'm like, oh, I know where that is. So, like, I want to say the man's name was Les Thatcher, and Les Thatcher had a radio show on this crappy little AM station, and he would just talk wrestling, and he'd get all these guys on. He would get Chris Jericho to come on and do interviews, and Dean Malenko, and just all these guys that he'd worked with over the years.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just a golden time to get back into wrestling. There was so much good content out there, man.
Well, it's awesome, man. So as we got past that, I do want to kind of jump up a little, because we know that's the golden age. What do you think about professional wrestling right now? And I want your opinion, because you have a son who's into it too. So thinking as when you were younger compared to his age, what's your thoughts on wrestling and how it is ease of letting him watch it?
I think today, I think we're in a new golden age. I don't think there's a better time to get back into it. This is it's not the Monday Night Wars, okay? You don't have, you've got some other brands out there, but none that are going head to head with WWE. The other brands that are out there are kind of doing their own thing. You've got Lucha Underground, and you've got, and TNA. And goodness, God love them.
They're trying.
TNA has tried, but their brand identity, they've got to dial that in a bit. And hopefully they'll come along. But you've got some other products out there. You've got New Japan, which definitely has its own aesthetic.
Well, and they're making the big push here in the United States, so...
But the thing I like about WWE, especially today, is they've got their three main brands now. They've got SmackDown and Raw and NXT, and they've managed to give them enough of their own flavor. I mean, SmackDown, it's a world apart from Raw, and NXT is a world apart from both of them as far as the creative direction, as far as the storytelling, as far as the mythology that's being written. And as a wrestling fan, There's never been a better time. As a dad, I'm cool with letting my kid watch most of it.
Yeah.
There's a few odds and ends where I'm like, oh, I don't know. This is a little mature for him. I don't know.
Now, also with the network, do you take the time to kind of go, hey, son, here's what your dad watched when he was your age? Because I know some of that stuff you can't.
Some of it I can't.
Yeah.
My son's favorite type of match is the Royal Rumble, without a doubt. And who doesn't love the Rumble? The Rumble is amazing. So Royal Rumble season was coming up, and he wanted to watch some old ones. And he's like, hey, let's watch the one from the year I was born. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's watch the one from 2006. I didn't remember it. 2006 was a long time ago, and I don't remember it. So I'm like, all right, let's watch Royal Rumble 2006, man. So fire up the Rumble, and then there's Edge, the rated R superstar, pretending to have sex with Lita. And I'm like, oh, hey, we're gonna skip past this a little bit and just go straight to the Rumble. And then you've got, oh man, what was that guy's name? There was Rico, I think. Yeah, I think Rico was still in it. I mean, you just had Billy and Chuck, and you had a lot of mature content in there, but, we kind of glossed over that. And he got to see Rey Mysterio start at 1 and go to the end, and my son freaking loves Rey Mysterio. He thinks Rey Mysterio is the awesome, and he's right, because but he loves Rey Mysterio. He loves all the little lucha guys. He thinks the luchadors are the bestest, and I'd love for him to watch Lucha Underground, but Lucha Underground is definitely a little more mature.
There's a lot more adult content for storyline, and I mean, it's not sexist and all that stuff. It's just there's some things there you probably just don't want him into.
There's some stuff. Yeah, I would have a hard time explaining to him why Katrina licks the people after Mil Muertes murders the crap out of them. I'd have a tough time explaining that. There's also I love the fact that they do intergender matches. I love the fact that Sexy Star gets in there and mixes it up and all that. And Ivelisse, so I'm a big Ivelisse fan. I'm only into season 1, so no spoilers.
Yeah.
If she, whatever. So I'm watching this stuff. When you've got dudes fighting women, I don't know if my son needs to see that just yet.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to explain to him.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just because this is happening on TV, you can't just go up and beat up your sister or whatever.
No, but he wouldn't have a chance against her. She is vicious. I would be remiss, though. I did forget to mention one particular wrestling franchise that I enjoyed the hell out of when I was younger.
Okay.
And this is very timely, given a show that's coming up on Netflix. But, dude, Glow. I watched Glow every Saturday. My friends and I mean, hey, that Glow came along just at the right time. I was about like 12, starting to go through the changes, and Glow.
It was perfect.
Oh, yeah, Tina Ferrari and what was the other one that was? See,
I missed all those. I didn't get a chance to watch any of those. Like I said,
Colonel Nadotchka.
I lived in the hillbilly freaking country bumpkin where we didn't get any of that crap.
Wow.
Yeah, we missed out. Yeah.
Okay, your homework, John. You need to watch the Glow documentary that's on Netflix, and then I guess they're releasing a miniseries based on it. I can't wait.
Okay.
Glow was the bomb. Colonel Nadotchka, call me girl. I still love you. For real. Colonel Nadotchka with that accent.
Really?
And smoking the cigar and
Okay, I missed out on all that.
Yes, Glow was awesome.
All
yes,
right.
and rest in peace, Mount Fiji. She was amazing. Absolutely. It just incredible. And the wrestling was. It's funny because the wrestling, again, looking back on it with modern whatever.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Well, in the ring they were wrestling, I was made out of plywood. There's no padding whatsoever. These girls got the crap beat out of them. And you watch the documentary. Those girls went through hell. But they put on a fun show. And for going through puberty they put on a very entertaining show. But they had some laughs in there too. It's an interesting aesthetic. Out of all the promotions I've ever watched, Glow is a billion% unique. And I think when WWE does some of the campier stuff like the Fashion Police, that owes a direct line of gratitude to Glow, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
All right, so my last question to you, though, kind of comes full circle, because you were talking at the very beginning about people kind of laughing at you when you said you liked wrestling. You know what? Nowadays, it's mainstream. I mean, we got The Rock, we got John Cena. These guys are in major motion pictures. So as a wrestling fan, how does that make you feel?
Vindicated.
Okay. And that's what I mean. I mean, because, people always look down on wrestling fans. Oh, you live in a trailer, you're trash, just because. So now to see it so mainstream, ESPN, Sports Illustrated do stories on it all the time.
The fact that SportsCenter has these guys on, the fact that Jonathan Coachman, who came up through the WWE, is now like a lead guy on frickin' ESPN. That just confirms what we knew all along. Wrestling tells a story that is that is compelling to anyone who loves a good story. The themes, the stories, the whole thing. It's timeless storytelling. It's the most unique form of storytelling. There's nothing else like it. Are the match outcomes predetermined? Yes. Do I care? Nope, not a whit. Does it tell a good story? That's what I'm into it for. At no point have I watched The Walking Dead and said, hey, I don't think those zombies are real. That Rick and the gang getting out of this one, they totally set that up in advance. It's a story. They don't even try to pretend that it's real anymore. I mean, or I shouldn't say real. They don't even pretend that it isn't predetermined. That's been put to bed a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just there to entertain people.
And that's the thing. And I've watched a bit of MMA, and don't get me wrong. Hey, everybody loves watching a good fight. There's nothing wrong with that. But with MMA, people are like, well, I think MMA is going to take over wrestling or beat wrestling. They're not compete. It's not the same thing.
No,
not the same thing at all. I think if I were involved in boxing should be worried about MMA and vice versa. But wrestling's not competing with MMA. It's competing with storytelling. And on Monday nights, it competes with Monday Night Football. But
there doesn't do too well. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's always there when you want to go back and kind of enter that fantasy zone for a while and just kind of suspend reality.
Yeah, there comes a point where you want to watch superheroes do cool stuff. You want to see the bad guy get his ass kicked. You want to see that stuff happen. You want to see you want a good story. Everybody loves a good story. A good story is always better than a good time. And and with wrestling, you get a good story. You get to see larger than life stuff happen, man. So hey, if it's mainstream, if it gets driven back underground again, whatever. If the story's good, I'm still there. And the story has been pretty damn good lately. If you're not watching it, this is the time to get back into it. New golden age. And if you're not watching Shinsuke Nakamura, you're missing out. That guy's friggin' incredible. Just amazing.
All right, Terry. Thank you very much for saying things in a microphone for a little while.
Yes, absolutely. It's like I get paid to do this for a living or something. Shameless plug time. You can listen to Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare, Saturday night, 7 until midnight, Central Standard Time on rock947.com. You can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and I think I'm all out of shameless plugs. So thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. If you haven't, visit undertheringreport.com, subscribe to the show, and you can also follow us on Twitter at UTRR Podcast, and find us on Facebook and like us there. Now, if you want to be a part of the show, just like Scary F and Terry was, feel free to contact us, and we'll get you on the show and talk about why you like pro wrestling. It's the Under the Ring Report. Thanks for joining us.
You're listening to Under the Ring Report, where you can hear everybody's favorite wrestler, that's me, Rob Van Dam, the whole effing show.
Thanks for listening to the Under the Ring Report. Please visit undertheringreport.com and subscribe for free so you can listen every week to the Under the Ring Report.